1 year ago, Americans were rushing to buy electric cars. Today, many are trying to sell them. Just a few years ago, electric cars weren't just vehicles. They were a movement. Gas prices were rising across America. Families were feeling the pressure at the pump, and suddenly, electric cars looked like the perfect escape. The promise was simple. No more gas stations, lower running costs, a cleaner future. Then came the surge. Companies like Tesla were no longer just startups. They were leading a revolution. Traditional giants like Ford and General Motors announced billions of dollars in electric investments. America wasn't just buying cars anymore. It was buying into the future. Government incentives made deals even sweeter. Tax credits, rebates, state benefits. Owning an EV suddenly felt smart, responsible, inevitable. Sales numbers climbed rapidly. Parking lots started filling with silent vehicles. For a moment, it seemed like the transition was unstoppable. But revolutions move fast, and sometimes faster than reality can handle. Because while America was rushing toward electric, some problems were quietly charging in the background. The electric dream sounded simple. Spend less on gas, save more every month. And for many Americans, that part was true. Gas bills disappeared. Trips to the pump became rare. But then, the other bills started showing up. Battery replacement costs. An electric car runs on its battery, and that battery isn't cheap. Out of warranty, replacement costs can reach thousands of dollars. In some case, over 10,000. For many owners, that number feels heavier than years of gas expenses. The car may be electric, but the repair bill can feel shocking. Insurance costs. Then there's insurance. Electric vehicles often cost more to insure than gas cars. What? Higher repair costs. Expensive battery systems, advanced sensors and cameras. Even minor accidents can mean major bills. For some families, monthly insurance payments quietly erase the fuel savings. Limited repair centers, and when something breaks, not every mechanic can fix it. EVs require specialized training. Certified repair centers are limited in many areas. That means longer wait times, higher labor costs, fewer options. In smaller towns, help isn't always around the corner. Home charger installation. Charging at home sounds easy until you install it. Level 2 home chargers often require electrical upgrades, panel modifications, professional installation. For some households, setup costs climb into the thousands. And renters. Many don't even have the option. The electric revolution didn't come with just benefits. It came with trade-offs. And for some Americans, those trade-offs started to feel heavier than expected. But costs weren't the only challenge. Owning an electric car isn't just about saving money. It's about how you live with it every single day. Long charging time. Charging sounds simple. Plug in, wait, drive. But unlike a gas car, you can't refill in 5 minutes. At home, a full charge can take hours. At public stations, it depends on availability and speed. And when you're in a hurry, waiting feels longer than it should. Road trip anxiety. Road trips used to mean freedom, open highways, spontaneous stops, no second thoughts. With an EV, planning becomes essential. You check range, you search for charging stations, you calculate distance carefully. Miss one charger, and the next one might be miles away. For many drivers, that freedom starts to feel conditional. Winter range drop, and then comes winter. Cold temperatures don't just affect people, they affect batteries. Range drops, charging slows, efficiency declines. A car rated for 300 miles might deliver far less in freezing conditions, and suddenly the numbers on paper don't match the road ahead. Tesla advantage, but not all electric experiences are equal. Companies like Tesla built extensive supercharger networks across America. Fast charging, reliable locations, seamless navigation, integration. For many Tesla owners, that network makes a difference. Other brands struggle. Other automakers haven't always been as prepared. Public charging networks can be inconsistent. Stations out of order. Apps that don't decommunicate smoothly. In some regions, drivers report frustration. Long waits. Broken chargers. Limited coverage. The car may be advanced, but the infrastructure around it isn't always ready. Charging reality isn't a deal breaker for everyone, but it's a daily reminder. The electric revolution still depends on something bigger than the car itself, and that's where the real challenge begins. Buying an electric car feels like stepping into the future. Clean, quiet, advanced. But the future moves fast. Used electric vehicle prices have been dropping sharply in recent years. Not slightly, significantly. A car that felt cutting edge yesterday can feel outdated tomorrow. Technology evolves quickly. New battery chemistry, longer range, faster charging, improved software. And every time a new model launches, the previous one silently loses value. Your $50,000 Evave might be worth far less in just 2 years. Not because it's broken, not because it's unreliable, but because something newer exists. In the traditional car market, depreciation is expected. But with EVs, the pace can feel different. Sharper, faster. A gasoline car from 3 years ago still performs much like it did on day one. But an electric car, range numbers improve year after year. Charging speeds increase. Software updates redefine features. Suddenly, buyers compare, and the older model starts to look limited. Limited? For early adopters, this is the hidden cost you pay for innovation. But innovation doesn't wait for you. Used car listings tell the story. Prices adjust downward. Demand shifts toward the newest release. And owners notice the excitement of ownership slowly meets the reality of market value. It's not just about numbers on a resale website. It's about expectation. You believed you were buying the future, but the future kept upgrading itself. For some drivers, that's the price of progress. For others, it's a financial surprise. Electric cars are redefining transportation, but they're also redefining depreciation. And in a market driven by rapid innovation, value doesn't just depend on condition, it depends on what comes next. The transition to electric vehicles isn't just technological, it's political and it's economic. In the United States, the push toward electrification has been supported at the federal level. Tax, incentives, infrastructure, funding, emissions, targets. Policies are designed to accelerate adoption, reduce carbon output, encourage domestic battery production. But policy decisions don't exist in isolation. The oil industry remains a major economic force. Millions of jobs are tied directly or indirectly to oil production, refining, and distribution. Fuel taxes support transportation infrastructure. Entire regional economies depend on energy exports. A rapid shift away from gasoline affects more than just drivers. It reshapes supply chains, labor markets, investment strategies. At the same time, the auto industry faces its own pressures. Building electric vehicles requires different components, fewer moving parts, different manufacturing processes, heavy investment in battery development. For traditional automakers, this transition is expensive. Factories must be retooled, workforces retrained, supply chains rebuilt. Some companies have accelerated their EV strategies. Others have adjusted timelines. Toyota, for example, has emphasized a hybrid-focused strategy rather than moving fully electric immediately. The company argues that hybrids provide a practical bridge, balancing fuel efficiency with existing infrastructure. Other traditional automakers have, at times, slowed certain EV plans, citing market demand, profitability concerns, and charging infrastructure limitations. Meanwhile, new E-focused companies continue expanding production capacity. This creates a complex landscape. Government, goals, corporate strategy, energy, economics, consumer demand, all moving at different speeds. For consumers, the debate can feel distant, but its impact is real. Policy influences pricing. Incentives affect affordability. Infrastructure spending shapes convenience. The future of transportation in America isn't determined by technology alone. It's shaped by economics, industry, strategy, and political priorities. And as the transition continues, the direction and the pace remain part of an ongoing national conversation. Are EVs really failing? After the charging delays, the resale concerns, the political debate, a bigger question remains. Are electric cars really failing, or are they simply facing the growing pains of transformation? Because despite the challenges, electric vehicles are still evolving. Battery technology is improving. Range is increasing. Charging speeds are getting faster. What felt limiting 5 years ago feels very different today. Public charging infrastructure continues to expand. Highway corridors are filling with new fast chargers. Urban centers are investing heavily. Automakers are adjusting strategies, learning from early mistakes, refining production, and consumers are becoming more informed. Early adopters often carry the weight of innovation. They test the systems. They expose the weaknesses. They push the industry forward. The first smartphones had flaws. Early internet connections were slow. New technologies rarely arrive fully perfect. Electric vehicles may be no different. Adoption curves on straight lines. They rise. They slow. They correct. Market shifts don't always signal failure. Sometimes they signal stabilization for some Americans. An electric car already makes perfect sense for others. The timing may not feel right yet, and that's part of transition. The infrastructure is growing. The technology is maturing. The economics are evolving. The question isn't just whether EVs work, it's whether the system around them, because revolutions aren't smooth. The Americans walking away from electric cars, or are they simply demanding better ones? Maybe Americans aren't ditching electric cars. Maybe the electric revolution just hit its first reality check. And maybe this is the moment that defines what comes next, because the future of transportation isn't decided by headlines. It's decided by consumers, by infrastructure. B, innovation. B, demand. So, what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for EVs? Or just the messy middle of a long-term transformation? Tell us in the comments, would you buy an electric car today? Or are you waiting for the next breakthrough? The road ahead is still being written, and we're all part of the journey.